All right, guys. Our next guest is a former UFC bantamweight champion. He is looking to bounce back since his razor-close loss to Dominick Cruz and get straight back into the title picture to regain what he believes is rightfully his. TJ Dillashaw, welcome back to Submission Radio. How's it going today?
It's going good, man. Just having a good time, hanging out with family up in Angels Camp, California. Came home to visit and hang out a little bit. But yeah, things are going great.
Having a great time. Tell us a little bit about that. What are you doing up there in Angels Camp, TJ?
Well, it was mine and my brother's birthday here this in February, so my family just wanted to celebrate both of our birthdays. I turned 30, so I'm old as shit now. So they wanted to make sure to celebrate our birthday together, and I saw some old friends and hung out last night and just had a good time.
It's an interesting one, TJ, because me and Casper, we're sort of getting close to 30. And every year that I get closer to 30, I have like this list of things that I want to do. Just ridiculous things that have nothing to do with my regular life. But I'm like, I have to do this before I'm 30. Otherwise, I've pretty much failed life. Have you done everything on your list? Or do you still have stuff that you sort of imported from your 20s into the 30s?
I never actually obviously put down an official list, but there's always stuff. I mean, you always got to be setting new goals. Even if you do the things you wanted to do before you were 30, you got to set new ones, right? Or just life's going to get too boring and complacent. So there's definitely shit I still want to get done.
Yeah, true. But if you write a list, then that's the quickest way to fail it. So stay away from the list, TJ. That's our advice.
Good call, man.
Now, it's been just over a month since you lost the belt to Dominick Cruz. What's the month been like for you mentally, and what sort of place are you in now?
Obviously you get a little bitter when you watch the fight, or even just end up watching UFC in general just about it, because I felt I won the fight. So it's a tough one to swallow, but it's been fine, man. I mean, try to help Joseph Benavidez get back into right after my fight. The week after my fight, I was back in Colorado helping him get ready for his last fight. So that helps you get your mind off it and helping your teammate get ready out in Colorado. And then trying to be able to do as much as I can. I have a fractured hand and foot right now that I'm letting heal up. I re-injured an old injury in my hand, I guess. I didn't know I had a fractured hand, but re-injured it 2 weeks before the fight, and then re-injured it, and then hurt it even worse in the fight. And then I broke my foot. They're both fractures. They're both small, and then fractured my foot in the fight as well. So it's small injuries. I just got to wait to heal up before I can get back at it full goes and stuff.
I got to ask, how much did that affect you during the fight, those injuries, the fractured hand and the broken foot?
Not at all. I didn't even know. Like, after the fight, I didn't even want to go to the doctor to get checked out. I knew it hurt, but I was, maybe a deep bone bruise or something, and it didn't affect me. I didn't feel it while I was fighting. I had too much adrenaline going on.
You're too tough for your own good, TJ. Now, you're no stranger to controversial decisions. In October 2013, you lost a split decision to Raphael Assuncao that you didn't agree with. Is it sort of like deja vu for you? And how does this recent loss compare to the one to Assuncao?
Yeah, I guess it definitely is. I mean, obviously this one hurts a lot more. It's for the belt, and it was a name that I've been shooting for to beat for a long time. Beating Dominick Cruz, and going out and feeling I did so. It's a tough one not to get. Obviously it sucks to say it. It's kind of stupid that we do even say this in our sport, but you can't leave it to the judges. It's like crazy that we're like one of the only sports where you can't actually have a scoring system that works, and you know what it is, and you can't leave it in the hands of the judges. You need to knock someone out, which I try to do every fight. But I left it too close. There's definitely things I should have changed, things I should have done differently. And I definitely could have fought better. But with saying that, the fight was awesome. Dominick Cruz came back and had a good fight. But, I still, even going back and watching the fight, I feel like I won it, man. I feel like I won 4 rounds. I feel the night of the fight, I was giving myself 3, just being, what I thought and cautious. I knew the fight was close, but going back and watching it, I feel like I won 4 of those rounds. I think he's getting a little bit too much credit for his bit long layoff and looking impressive when coming back. Sure, that's cool, but that doesn't win you a fucking fight. Sorry, excuse my language.
You can swear on this. That's absolutely fine.
All right. It doesn't win you a fight by coming off a big layoff and looking good, and making me miss doesn't win you a fight. I feel like he was getting scored because he was making me miss. Like, I knew I was going to miss. The guy's got great movement. That's what he's always been good at. The plan was to miss and to follow it up, which I did. And, I actually outstruck him. The Cowboy Box numbers, I said I outstruck him by like 9 strikes. I know it's not a lot, but the way I'm fighting and pushing forward and landing the cleaner shots, I feel that's enough to get those rounds,
It's a tough one, since beating Barao in May 2014, TJ, one thing that, to us has been really apparent has been your confidence, and I think everyone's noticed anytime you've spoken about future fights or future opponents or fantasy matchups, there's never been any doubt when you speak, and I'm just wondering, after almost 2 years of being the reigning champ and being on top of the mountain, what does a big loss like this do for your confidence?
Nothing with the confidence. I mean, you got to be as much confident as possible in this sport, or you're not going to get anywhere. I think that's actually what's winning Conor McGregor a lot of fights is just his pure confidence in his shit talking. But you got to have that behind you, or I don't feel like you're going to be successful. You got to learn to be confident, and obviously training as hard as you possibly can keeps you confident. But a fight like this, I mean, just kind of remotivates you to change some things up, knowing obviously you got to still grow as a fighter, which that's why I moved out to Colorado and making adjustments in my fight camp. It's not going to do nothing with my confidence. I'm still very confident because obviously I feel I won that fight too, and Dominick's a great fighter. I mean, it was an awesome fight. Going back and watching just how technical the fight actually was, I thought it was even just a very entertaining fight. Even for him making it as boring as possible.
Mm-hmm.
If I wouldn't have pushed the pace, the fight could have, like, if I would have just stood in the middle of the octagon, that fight could have been really boring, but that's just not my style, man. I mean, I want to be the best and I want to be entertaining at it. And I don't know, man. It's just, that's the way I'm thinking about fighting.
Well, you posted something on Instagram recently that caught a lot of people's attention, and it was a pair of runners and pillows with a caption that said, "Only equipment needed for the rematch against Cruz. Next training camp is going to be strictly running marathons and pillow fighting because that little bitch doesn't want to fight. He wants to run and throw his pillows around that he calls fists at Dana White at UFC. Give me the rematch to get back what is rightfully mine and should have never lost. No more being respectful or nice because that doesn't seem to get shit done. Get you shit anymore. Sorry. You've always talked about how you're a martial artist and you try to respect your opponent. You despise the WWE aspect of MMA in terms of trash talking, but was it hard for you to sort of do a 180 and come out with something like this? Because it seems like you're sort of doing it reluctantly.
To an extent, you know what I mean? Like when you're the champion, you don't have to talk shit to push your way up to get that fight, and there's gonna be plenty of guys talking their mouth off and making it some sort of drama to make it seem entertaining for them to get that title shot. Unfortunately, that's the way the UFC is going to work, is that it's all about money and promotion and entertaining, which I understand that. When you're the champion, you don't have to do that. Obviously it might make you a little bit more money on the pay-per-view end of it, but you don't have to do all this shit talking to get the fight you want. When you're not the champion, you kind of have to do that. You got to make yourself relevant on why you want to do it. And I do think it's unfortunate that's the way it is, but it makes sense. I mean, numbers is everything when it comes to this promotion. It's not about who actually deserves the rematch. It's all about the storyline and the drama behind it.
I mean, at least you're one of those guys that understands it, because there's a lot of fighters who will never talk trash regardless, and you're sort of trying to do that in order to get the fight that you want, progress your career. The part where you say no more being respectful or nice, because that doesn't seem to get you shit anymore, it sounds like there's a bit of frustration behind that line. I'm just wondering who or what is that frustration aimed at?
Like going through this last fight camp with Dominick, I feel like I tried to be the more respectful guy. I didn't want to sit down and talk a bunch of shit and make this the WWE. I wanted to be all my shit talking inside the cage and just proving that I was the better fighter, and I felt like after I would have won that fight, it would have paid off. It would have shown that you don't have to be the big shit talker to get things done and be the fan favorite, but that's what people like. The Conor McGregor era is real and people do like all that. I was just trying to be different. I was trying to be the guy that was going to be a little bit more, level-headed and just kind of, like I said, the martial artist, but, it doesn't, I'm almost going to have to be the heel now. It seems like just that's the way people want it, and that's just the line I've been given. People think that I'm trading on my team by staying loyal to my coach, which people just don't understand this stuff. And so, it's a little, it's tough. Yeah, it's definitely tough when you see it going away. And if I would have won that fight, I think it would have been a little bit different. And now that I didn't, it kind of backfires on you.
Yeah, TJ, I'm just wondering, with all the rematches going on with the title shots, for example, Chris Weidman's having a title rematch against Luke Rockhold, Cain Velasquez had a title rematch against Fabricio Verdum, Ronda Rousey was supposed to have a title rematch with Holly Holm. A lot of these matchups, not really the closest of fights, yet the rematch still happens, and a lot of people are sort of talking about the fact that, hey, why all these rematches happen? Those people lost. Well, with your fight, it was a very, very close fight. A lot of people felt like you won that fight, yet there is no guaranteed rematch. Does that frustrate you?
It is, man. I do think that out of all the rematches going to happen for a belt, I think mine's the most deserving. Especially not only the fact of the fight and how it went down and how close it was, but also what I had to do when I won the belt. I absolutely obliterated and dominated Barao, and they gave him a rematch. He missed weight. I had to take a fight on 24 hours notice, which was crazy. That was like probably the most nervous I've ever been. And I fought Joe Soto, and then I still had to give Barao a rematch after that. So I gave him more than enough chances to get that rematch, and I feel like not only was the fight close, but I feel like they kind of owe it to me almost.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess the fight that is being talked about now is Urijah Faber and Dominick Cruz. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you see how Urijah Faber deserves it, or you don't agree?
No, he doesn't deserve it. I mean, he's got a name behind him, but I mean, his last performances, I mean, he's nowhere near he should deserve a title fight. I mean, just going off of because they had old beef and Uriah's got a name, like that doesn't make sense. I'm the number one contender. I felt that I won the fight. A lot of people do feel I won the fight. It was razor close. I think I'm the only UFC champion to lose his belt to a split decision. I don't feel like Uriah's done enough to get that fight. I mean, obviously he's going to talk enough that he and talk his way and try to get that fight, but I don't think he deserves it off his performances and the way he's looked. And the guy's a dinosaur, man. Hasn't been looking very good. I feel like he's going downhill.
It's interesting. It's interesting because you mentioned that previously that you feel like almost with all these previous fights that you've taken with the UFC, you almost feel like they owe you the rematch because you have taken the fight with Brown and stuff like that. Is that sort of what you feel like, the fact that you have done quite a bit for the UFC, so this is sort of a time that the UFC can do something for you?
I mean, it's one of the ways you can try to hopefully get in their head and say so. But no, I think I deserve it more so just on my performances and the fact that that fight was so close. I mean, more so than anything, I think that's the reason why I should get the rematch. I mean, I think it's just right. I really do. But we'll find out. Hopefully we'll find out here soon. And, I got some things brewing right now. I'm starting a couple companies. I'm buying a property and building a house out in Colorado. So I'm trying to get some things done. I know Cruz has got to get healthy, so I'm willing to wait for that fight. I mean, any other fight I have after Cruz, I want it to be obviously for my belt. So I want that fight.
Well, let me ask you something, because you touched on it just briefly, and I think Casper was going to ask you about it, so sorry for stealing your follow-up, Casper, but the dinosaur remark about Urijah Faber, why do you feel like he's a dinosaur? A lot of people still feel like he's in the prime of his career.
Prime, no way, man. He's good. I mean, don't get me wrong, Urijah is awesome, man, and I have a lot of respect for the guy, but I just don't think he's been looking as good as he used to. I feel like he's slowing down. I mean, he's not dominating guys. I mean, he had a tough fight against Cisco Rivera until he poked him in the eye. Didn't look very good against Bruce Leroy until he choked him. He just beat number 13 seed, very close fight, and was gassed out in the process. I just don't think he's looked as dominant as he has in the past. I mean, I felt like he was a better fighter 4 years ago. And I mean, it's 37 years old. I mean, that's old, man. I don't want to be fighting when I'm 37 years old.
Really? So you just turned 30. How long would you like to fight? You in 7 years you won't be competing. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I can't tell you that now. I mean, who knows how my career is going to go? But I mean, as of now, 7 years, that's a long time. I mean, I've only been fighting 6 years total. I mean, that'd be over double my career. So, I mean, I feel like that's a long time to fight. It's late in your career, and your body takes a beating through this sport. And I want to have everything be intact. I don't want to go out of this sport with any kind of brain trauma or injuries or things like that. You gotta be safe with this sport and with your career. We put our lives on the line. We give up a lot for this sport, and you got to be smart about it.
Well, let's say you do get this rematch. If not immediately, then at some point, what are you doing different?
Yeah.
Would you be changing much about your preparation for a rematch, given that it was such a close fight? Anything specifically you'd work on differently, or do you think that it was so close that on a different day you'd get the nod from the judges?
No, there's no way I'm going to leave it that close. I'm definitely changing things up. I mean, even when you win fights, you got to look at what you're doing wrong and you have to improve it. That's the only way you're going to stay on top. You see most of the greats even when they're winning, they're still changing up their techniques. They're still getting better with what they're doing. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and break down exactly what I'm doing because I want that rematch and I'll just have to prove it what I'm going to do differently.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of people believe that you had more success towards the end of the fight as opposed to the beginning, especially with your leg kicks and cutting Cruz off. What do you think that is, and do you think you'll be able to implement that in your game plan sooner in a rematch? And also, When you look back at the damage that you caused Cruz with your leg kicks, are you sort of a little bit disappointed that you didn't chase after him and kick him a little bit more? Maybe would have stopped the fight a bit earlier?
I think it all just came down to me figuring Cruz out. I mean, I haven't had much tape to watch on the guy. In the last 4 years, he's fought in 1 minute, so I haven't had a lot of tape to watch. I watched some old stuff. He's got some new things going on. He's a smart fighter. He's a great analyst, so he knew what to expect of me coming in there. He's been watching me fight a lot. I think it was just me kind of getting comfortable and figuring him out a little bit. He's got awkward movement, and you can't really. It's hard for to train with anybody that moves like that. So I think it was just me figuring out his timing and figuring out his movement. And now that I'm going to continue to get that down and have that down, I think I'll start where I left off, where the fight left off in that fourth and fifth round, just being a little bit more dominant in the fight.
Well, while we're sort of talking about your preparation, how was your preparation for that fight? Because this was your first official training camp, no longer a part of Team Alpha Male. How did it compare to your previous camps, and were there many differences?
No, I mean, camp was great. There was differences. There was good differences. But I trained for my last Barao fight. I was out in Denver. I trained for that fight out in Denver as well. So everyone's making it sound like this is a brand new thing. It's just the only reason why it seems so brand new is because it was brought into the media by during the Ultimate Fighter with Conor McGregor and all that stuff. This is still the same. I was out in Denver for the Barao fight, and then I would go home to Sacramento and train with all the guys on my off season, and then I'd go back out for my camps. I was even going to do that in my fight in April that was going to be against Brown until I broke my ribs. So I was spending a lot of time out in Denver already. But the good thing about this last camp is that Muscle Farm took over. They made everything under one roof. They gave me everything I possibly needed. They brought me training partners that I needed. Joseph Benavidez, Lance Palmer were out there to help me out. Camp went great, man. Training at altitude was awesome, really, really tough. And it's nice to have that in my back pocket. Obviously dealing with the drama and the media was a little bit tough. You always want to talk about how you're overlooking it. It's not that big a deal, but it is. And when everyone's talking crap about something they have no idea about, that I was actually forced out of the gym because I told them I was going to do my next camp out in Colorado. It wasn't a choice that I made. I actually it's real unfortunate that Urijah has been willing to give up a friendship over a coach, someone that he doesn't get along with. He doesn't get along with someone. He doesn't get along with Dwayne Ludwig, so he's willing to get rid of mine and his friendship due to that, which is, pretty crazy to me. I didn't think he'd be that kind of person. And so it is frustrating to see me having to be the heel in the media eye because of me going and training with a coach that I've been training with for the last 3 years and really believe in. And just because Urijah doesn't get along with him, I'm the bad guy. I'm forced into this situation and now I'm the bad guy. And media's put it that way and spinning it that way. And, everyone's, talking shit on it. So it makes it a little tough.
Yeah, no, certainly. And just on that, like you mentioned, I mean, a lot of people do portray you as the bad guy. Sort of a lot of people who don't know the situation sort of look at TJ Dillashaw as someone who betrayed the team and did his own thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, I mean, going back and how this whole thing worked out, would you have done anything differently in your approach to letting everyone know that you're moving camp? Or, I mean, it must be really difficult when you have that many people sort of talking trash about you that don't even really know the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing different I would have done was not go on the Ultimate Fighter. That helps. Like, after my fight against Barao, I just fought. The week later, Urijah was already out there. Like, while I was fighting, coaching the Ultimate Fighter, he asked me if I would come out and help him. I was like, you know what? Look, I've been out in Denver training for this last fight. I need to go show my loyalty to the team. I'm going to go out there, help out, be some coaching. I wanted to go on vacation. I wanted to go to Hawaii and hang out with my wife. But I went out to help this guy out and help coach his team. And, it kind of backfired on me. And Conor knew that I had the situation where I was going out to Colorado, which is actually kind of crazy that he even knew about all this. I feel like someone was in his ear to start all this drama, and it worked out perfect for the UFC. And it's actually, I mean, ultimately, yeah, it does suck that people are getting the wrong impression of the whole situation, but ultimately it does cause attention. I got to look at the positives from it. Even if it's bad attention, I'm still getting a lot more attention on my fights and I guess my training camp, and it's bringing eyes my way, even though it's not the full story.
TJ, I really appreciate the time you're giving us. We'll let you go in a few minutes. Just got a few more questions.
No problem.
It's funny because you're obviously no longer part of Team Alpha Male, and there was a big thing Urijah sort of outlined that you can't come back here and train with our guys and things like that.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that Joseph Benavidez and Lance Palmer are, your former teammates, but still kind of teammates. They've been coming down to train with you in Colorado at Team Elevation. So you kind of still are training with Team Alpha Male guys. What has that been like for you to see familiar faces and sort of have familiar bodies to train with?
Well, it's good, and it's also good for everyone else to see that the story's not how they believe it to be. I mean, Joseph and Lance are coming out because we're still boys, and they know how good the training is with Dwayne. They believe in Dwayne as well, and more guys would do so if there wasn't so much backlash. It's funny. When I first had this situation come to me in Muscle Farm, talking about starting the gym and having all the coaches under one roof and making a great situation for training camps, the first one to think about coming out with me was Cody No Love. He was texting with Leister Bowling, talking about how he was going to move out there and he thinks how training out there is going to be better, and he's tired of not having a coach in Sacramento.
Where was this in Colorado?
What's that?
Where was he going to go? Colorado.
Oh, he wanted to come out and train at Team Elevation.
Wow.
Like Leister Bowling's the coach at Elevation. I have multiple text messages with Cody talking about coming out to Colorado and how he was going to come out there, and so does our wrestling coach Leister Bowling, which is kind of like the guy that's been the head coach really on the team. He was talking with Cody, and Cody was telling him how he wanted to come out there and start being part of the team and how he wanted to move out there. And then now all of a sudden there's all this backlash on me going out there, and there's a bunch of drama in the media. So now Cody's like, no, I would never go out there and train with those fucking guys. Those guys are the enemies. He's just so young and easily influenced by the media and Urijah that he is not telling the truth and not being truthful with what's going on,
Yeah,
when he was the first one, when I was going to go out there, he was the first one wanting to come with me, and now he's talking shit on Lance and Joe for doing it because they believe in the training, and now they're getting backlash for it because it's just so blown out of proportion bullshit, man.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because he actually made those comments on this program a few weeks ago. So it's funny how it all gets blown out of proportion. He was on the program. He mentioned how he wasn't completely comfortable with Joe and Lance going and training with you, and now that you're no longer a part of the team and the situation won't go over very well when they return to Team Alpha Male, do you think that Joe and Lance may end up moving to Team Elevation full-time sooner than later in the future? Because when Joe was talking in the press conference, he said that, look, I'll always be a part of Team Alpha Male, but I'm going to be spending more time at Elevation for my next camp.
I'd imagine I don't think he's going to move out there. He just got married to his wife, Megan O'Leary, and they live in Las Vegas. I picture him maybe spending more time in Vegas with his wife and doing the married life. And I think for his fight camps, he'll be spending a lot of time out in Colorado, and I really haven't talked to Lance about what he's really going to do, but, I know he's interested in training, but I'm not going to get involved and start drama with these guys and talk about how they're going to come to Elevation because really, I mean, this is all stupid. I still boys with all the guys from Team Alpha Male for the most part, like Chad Mendez came up last night to celebrate my birthday with my family, and I was out in Utah signing autographs at his new business he started called Fins and Feathers, and helping out doing with his business and doing hunting guides and stuff. So I'm very involved with a lot of the guys. Really the only ones that have, vocally been an enemy of mine now is Urijah and Cody, it seems like, which makes sense. They're in my weight class. Maybe they're pushing for notoriety and want to build their way up that ladder,
Right. Shout out to Fins.
Got a target on my back.
Shout out to Fins and Feathers. Couple more questions, then we'll let you go,
yeah,
TJ.
Well, I'm actually coming out to New Zealand in April. We're doing a red stag hunt out in New Zealand. Me and Chad are heading out there. Chad started this cool business, Fins and Feathers, where he does a guide service. It's called a celebrity guide service. Chad's an avid hunter. I've been one my entire life. He started this to where, you get a guided trip, you have very reasonable prices, and then you also get to pick a celebrity that you want to go with you and hunt as well. And you've got everywhere from mixed martial arts, UFC fighters to actors to basketball players to baseball players. And he's got like 15 to 20 celebrities on his list that you could choose a hunt, you can choose a celebrity to go with you. So I'm pumped I get to go to New Zealand and do the red stag hunt. It's going to be sweet.
Man, that's awesome. So are you, just to clarify, are you guys going there as the celebrities, or you're going to be going with other celebrities? How's it working?
So on that one, we are the celebrities for that one, me and Chad. And then it's guided by a third party. So, not only does Chad know how to hunt, he's a great guide as well, but it's going to be professionally guided by someone else, and we'll be the ones hunting along with whoever else buys the trip.
Wow.
And, Chad started a great thing. We were just at the Utah hunting convention for the Mule Deer Foundation, and it's gotten a lot of attention, and I'm really happy for Chad because this is his passion, and if he can start making a living off his passion, it's amazing.
You guys need to record this. It's going to be like you and Chad hunting. Kobe Bryant's going to be like the guide. Kanye West is going to be like, I don't know, the turkey or something. It's going to be interesting.
It'll definitely be recorded, but I don't know if it'll be that entertaining as you're drawing up. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah. You need to swing by Australia at some point. Just something else that I want to touch on before we let you go. It's kind of funny because when we had you on the show a couple of years ago, I believe this is before you even fought Barão, you mentioned how a lot of websites call you the Viper, even though it's not actually your nickname, it never has been.
Yeah.
Now, we've sort of come, since the Ultimate Fighter McGregor's comments calling you a snake, you've been called a lot of, a snake by a lot of fans. It's caught fire. We've actually you've started owning it and even calling you, Joe, and Lance the Snakes, featuring the Viper, yourself, the Joa Constrictor, and the Python Palmer. It's funny how you've come full circle and you're owning it. Is it safe to assume that, the snake comments never really bothered you?
No, I mean to an extent. I mean, you're always gonna look back and be like, "Damn, this is fucking bullshit. This sucks. This is the way the story going down." But you gotta, like I said, take a positive from everything, have some fun with it, because it's all so ridiculous. I mean, it's crazy how involved people get to be in my life right now with social media and me being in the limelight for fighting and stuff. It's just crazy how involved people are. And so you got to turn around and spin it and have some fun with it. And like I said, coming off the Ultimate Fighter, I randomly got the name the Viper. So it has come full circle. And I never claimed that nickname, but now it's almost has to be. I mean, even though I'm not going to be announced that way, it's just kind of like a fun thing,
Well, TJ, before we let you go, we got to ask you, how soon do you want to get back in the cage? And if anybody's listening out there, the UFC, the fans, how do you see this rematch if you get it with with Dominick Cruz going? How will it play out? If you do get your hands on Dominick Cruz again, how do you expect to go again?
Obviously, I want to be ready to fight whenever Dominick's going to be ready, but I would like to not fight until like June or July. I got some things I've taken advantage of right now. I'm starting up a nutritional company with perfecting athletes. I'm teaming up with them, and we're starting a thing. We're coming out with California USA Wrestling, and going to help out and give back to the kids of the wrestling community, and kind of tell them I wish I would have known how to cut weight like I do now back in when I was wrestling. So I mean, I'd be ready around June or July. I'm starting that business. I'm building a house out in Colorado. I also started a woodworking company here in Angels Camp, California. Well, it's actually Murphy's. It's called Murphy's Woodwork. So we're gonna start making custom furniture and big redwood slabs and stuff. So I'm doing a bunch of cool shit right now, and just kind of want to get that all up and going before I even get back into training, because I can't train for another 4 to 6 weeks with my broken hand and foot.
So basically what you're saying is you're becoming the Richard Branson of MMA. You're branching out into everything. You've got businesses all over the place. If you want to hunt, if you want wood, you're the man to come to.
Exactly, man. Hell yeah. I mean, I hope so. I'm just doing stuff I love to do. My dad's been a contractor his whole life. He owns his construction business, Dillashaw Construction. We've built private homes. He's built private homes his whole life, and I've been involved in that. So I've always enjoyed that aspect of it. So I'm just kind of doing things I love to do. I've gotten into nutrition really big time, and I want to give back to the wrestling community. That's got me where I'm at. So it's everything I'm just interested in life. It just kind of fell into my lap, and I'm taking advantage of it. I love to hunt. Love the whole woodworking business, and then I want to give back to the wrestling community and show how much I know about nutrition.
Awesome. Well, all the TJ Dillashaw fans can check all that out. That's really exciting. Now, before we let you go, TJ, if you get your hands on Cruz, how do you see the rematch going? Give us a prediction.
It's definitely going to be not as close going into the judges. Obviously I'm always going to be pushing for that finish, but I'm going to be a lot more dominant in this fight. As like I said, when I left off in the 4th and 5th round, I'm going to plan on starting where I left off, and I'm gonna, if I would have had one more round, that fight would have been over, and that's how I think the next fight's gonna go. I am gonna be able to finish him, and then there will be no question about who's the best in the world.
Well, TJ, we're very excited to see what happens and, who you get matched up with. Hopefully we do see that rematch. And it's interesting that you say June, July, because there kind of is a pretty big card in July. UFC 200, just saying. Guys,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, well, there you go. You guys can follow TJ at TJ Dillashaw on Twitter and, of course, on Instagram. Check out what he's doing and what he's up to. We know it'll be a while before you come back, obviously with the injury, but we're looking forward to it. And, TJ, we always appreciate you coming back on the show. Thanks for chatting with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on again, guys.